How to build a system for your construction business. Hey, my name's Scott Beebe. I have brought you into my personal office space because I just want to teach with you back and forth on this idea that many of you as contractor owners are struggling with, and that is how to systematize the business. So I want you to think with me, and I want you to go back into just a regular week for you. It's Friday night, let's say. It's not Friday afternoon, it's Friday night. Your crew, they knocked off at 3. Your foreman's texted you, or your superintendent's texted you 4 or 6 times between 4 and 6, and you answered all of them. Your wife made you dinner. You didn't eat. I mean, not really. You were there, but you know how it is. You weren't there. And right now, you look around, and wherever you're at, there's invoice over here, there's some change order paperwork over here, there's a text from your subcontractor wanting to know if she's going to work on Monday, and you don't really know because you don't know if the materials are confirmed. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this number that just keeps floating around, and it's a cash number. Why? Is it because you're not sure if you're going to be able to make payroll next week? Listen, this isn't what you signed up for. You started the business because, frankly, you're good at what you do, and so you can look at a piece of dirt or some sort of existing structure, and you can see a finished product. You can manage a crew, read a blueprint, you can negotiate a contract, solve a problem on a job site. Frankly, it'd make me quit on the spot. And you've got this talent, you've got this capability, and you're not lazy. But right now, let's face it, for many of you, your business is running you. And somewhere deep down, you know that if nothing changes, you're going to be just as stressed 3 years from now as you are right now. And so I want to think through some of these changes. And I want you to think reasonably what it could happen if something did change instead of nothing changes. My name's Scott Beebe, and I'm the owner and founder of Business on Purpose. We're a coaching and advisory firm that works with business owners, particularly contractor owners, between 3 and 100 employees, to build out your purpose, people, process, and profit into an operating system so that you can be liberated from chaos to make time for the things that matter most. And so in this video training, that's why I've brought you into my office. I just want to have a conversation back and forth and teach and show exactly how to build a system for your contractor business. One that runs and grows whether you're on the job site or not. Hey, all throughout this video, I've got a link in the description below. If you want to hop on a call with one of our team members, we have a full-time professional team. No 1099s, no contractors, nothing against contractors, you know what I'm saying. And if you want to sit down and have a meaningful, reasonable conversation, it's not a sales pitch, it's a real conversation about where you're at. And you can even ask us, hey, is this something you can help with? And we can explore that together. That link will be there the entire time. All right, so let's dive in. I want to tell you, you've heard the old adage, it's not me, it's you, or vice versa, hopefully. It's not you, it's me. And so the first thing I need you to hear, and I want you to actually receive this, is that the chaos you're living in is not a character flaw, it's really a structural defect. And so this idea when we think, I'm the problem, you may not be. It may be that the structure is the problem. You would never pour a slab on a ground that hasn't been properly prepared. You wouldn't frame walls without checking that the foundation is square and level, and you wouldn't hand a crew a set of plans with pages missing and then just go, hey, just go figure this thing out. I hope you wouldn't do that anyway. But that's exactly what most construction business owners are doing with their businesses every single day. They're building on a foundation that was really never laid, or it's soupy at best. Not because you're incompetent. It's just simply because nobody ever showed them how to lay it. So here's something that might help you see where you're at right now, visualization. So after thousands of hours of coaching business owners and contractors just like you, we've identified what we believe are 5 stages every business owner moves through. Now, I know it's a little bit busy, but I included this in here because it's one of our most original graphics, because it really does visually and viscerally help you to understand these 5 stages. So most of you watching this are somewhere between stage 1 and stage 3. So stage 1 is you're just surviving. You're doing everything yourself. You are the business. Stage 2 is you've maybe started hiring some people. And we use what we used to call the pulse and people stage. You check their pulse and you go, oh, you're breathing. I guess we can hire you at this point. But the chaos followed you because the system came after the people instead of before the people. And then stage 3, it's where you're trying to lead, but you're still the one holding everything together because there's really no foundational operating system. There's no foundation that we talked about. So with this, you need to understand that you're not behind. You're probably just in a dip. And the only thing that gets you through the dip is a system. So I want to walk you through what the system looks like. All right, let's put this in a construction metaphor. I think it'd be very helpful. There are 4 foundational cornerstones of every business. So every construction business, every business of any kind, come to think of it, is built on 4 foundational cornerstones. We call them the 4 Ps: purpose, people, process, and profit. I do believe they are in that order, and usually in that order. The other thing I want to tell you is if you don't have these 4 Ps, we like to think of them as the 4 panes. So think of these as the 4 cornerstone footings of your building. So if any one of them is missing, removed, not there, it's cracked, then everything you build on top of it is at risk. And so we need to think about that structurally with our business. So on top of those 4 foundational cornerstones, then sits the concrete slab. What is that? It's what we call the master process roadmap. And so that slab holds up the 4 walls of your business, the MSOA, the marketing, sales, ops, and admin. So I introduced you to the 4 Ps. The MSOA are the 4 core. Those are the 4 core systems of every business, regardless of what your business is and regardless of what size. And then only when those cornerstones are solid, the slab's poured, that's when the building goes vertical truly. And when the building's up, it needs a roof. And that roof is what we call the anchor. Some of you thinking, I thought an anchor went to the bottom of the water. That's not the anchor we're talking about. The anchor we're talking about is a climbing anchor, one that goes to the top of the rock and holds all the other lead ropes and everybody who's climbing on it. That anchor dislodges and it's detrimental to everyone. And so it's the training and implementation system that protects everything else underneath it. So when you build something in your 4 Ps or your 4 core, the anchor is what holds it together through repetition and training. This is your business on one sheet of paper. Your entire business in that one metaphor. Everything you're going to build right now in this video lives in that visual. So keep this in your mind as we go through every single piece of this. Remember the 4 Ps, foundational level of that slab of the master process roadmap, the 4 core, marketing, sales, ops, and admin, and then your roof. So I want to go back and start at the ground. Before a single wall goes up, before a single process is mapped, before you hire somebody, bring somebody else on, let somebody go, buy another piece of software, whatever. These 4 cornerstones have to be set. So let's go one by one. Let's start with our first cornerstone of purpose, all right? And so with this idea of purpose, we need to see purpose as the compass. Purpose is the reason your business exists just beyond the transaction, beyond the paycheck. Most contractors have never written this down, and because it's never been written down, every decision in the business, every hire, every bid, every client you take on, it sort of gets made compassless, right? And so purpose is our compass. It's the vision story, the mission statement, less than 10 words, the 3 to 5 unique core values, the handbook that we have, and the building of your cultural anchor. All of those are in here. So we visualize it like this. Now, as you're looking at the Business on Purpose operating system, so when you look at your screen, that's actually what you're looking at right there, is the BOPOS. And so as you're looking at this, I want you to see it broken down in those 4 verticals: purpose, people, process, profit. Now, every line item under each vertical is a separate tool. That's right. We have to build out every one of these tools in order for us to have a fully built 4 foundational cornerstones. And so when your team knows why the business exists, not just what it does, they make better decisions without you in the room. So what's the vision? It's the detailed direction of where the business is going. What's the mission? That's why we're doing what we're doing. Core values, that's the boundaries of decision making and how we can send team members off. For instance, right now at the time of this recording, we have 2 team members that are in Dallas. They're speaking at an event. They're meeting with people while I'm not there. The founder is not there. How are they doing this autonomously? Well, they have a vision. They know where we're going. They understand that our mission is to liberate owners from chaos to make time for the things that matter most. And they understand our 5 unique core values. So when they're making decisions, talking with people, yes, they have messaging training. They have all of this other stuff, but we have handed that to them and they have studied it. Without purpose, every decision comes back to you. Friday night. You're there, but you're not there. And right now, every decision is probably coming back to you, or at least most, right? So let's go to the second cornerstone. And I want to reiterate, each item I show you is an item that must be built out regardless of your team. And you're going to be tempted to go, well, we've got that. Hold on. Michael Gerber says if it's not written down, you don't own it. We're a little harsher. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist. So if you don't have a vision story written down, you could actually show me, it doesn't exist. If you don't have a unique set of core values written down, explained, and defined that you can show me, it doesn't exist. If you don't have a handbook, it doesn't exist. So let's go to Cornerstone 2. Now, this is where most people try to start, and frankly, it's why most systems fail, is the people system. They hire for the hole, they fire for the crisis, and then they wonder why nothing holds. So they see a hole, and they go, let's hire. And then they're like, we don't like that hire. And so they fire them and then move on. Peopling is a system. It starts with an organizational chart. And then it goes all the way down the line with every single one of these tools that I'm going to hop around. So we've got the org chart, and the job roles, and the delegation roadmap, and the ideal weekly schedule. We've got the big 5 meetings. So these are the 5 meetings that every business needs to have: a team meeting, a departmental meeting for every department, marketing, sales, ops, and admin, an executive meeting, a one-on-one check-in that happens with every employee every month, and then the once annual performance review. Every single one of those meetings needs to be found within the business. That's why we call it the big 5. So when you go hunting in South Africa, you're hunting the big 5. When we go into a business, that's what we're hunting, is the big 5. Hiring process, onboarding process. Everything you see in that people vertical needs to be documented and then trained and implemented on repeat. And when you're building out your people system, we need to understand that the roles that the business needs are what allows it to function with you at the center. Therefore, instead of being people first, which most people think, we need to be role first, people agnostic. Does that mean we don't care about people? Of course not. Just the opposite. It means we care so deeply about people, we're going to define the clarity of the role so that when we bring people into that role, they have clarity. And so you're building the skeleton of the business first all around. So think about the human body. You've got a skeleton in the human body, and you kind of know what it looks like. Well, most people don't know what the skeleton of a business looks like, but it has one. A business is its own organism. And so once we identify the skeleton that we talked about with the operating system, that's the skeleton of the business, then we can find people to go fill that with a mindset of role first, people agnostic. So this includes all the things that I walk through, those structured plans, so your team always knows where they stand and where the business is headed. Right now, let me ask you this question. If your best person left tomorrow, what would happen? If the answer is not what you want, I didn't say it would be hard. Of course, it's going to be hard. But if the answer long-term is not what you want, then that is a people cornerstone problem, not just a people problem, but a systemic people problem. All right. So we have purpose, people. Third is process. Process is where the captive knowledge gets freed. So think of a captive process as something behind bars. It's locked away in your head or some methodology that other people can't get. So a captive process is any process that only works when you are the one running it or just one person is running it. Say your estimating process or your website cleanup process or your project kickoff, your electrical walk, whatever it might be. Your subcontractor communication process usually is stuck away in your head. All of it. It lives in your head where nobody else can access it. So here's the question that stops most owners cold. If you were to leave for 2 weeks tomorrow, 14 days, and your phone died, so you couldn't do email, couldn't do text, couldn't do phone calls, would your business run and grow with or without you? Now, let's be honest. The answer statistically for most is no. Not because your team's bad. It's because your processes are held captive. They're locked away. They're locked inside of you. And a captive process cannot scale. So how do we unlock it? Well, we go in the process vertical and we find one of those powerful tools called the Master Process Roadmap. It's your entire business on one sheet of paper. So imagine you got your 4 core across the top: marketing, sales, ops, and admin, and then just do a brain dump. This is actually a really good exercise. You've heard me talk about this in other areas. Set your timer for 10 minutes. Just get a blank sheet of paper, put marketing, sales, ops, and admin across the top. And in 10 minutes, no distractions, just write down every process that currently exists in your business. It is incredibly cathartic. It feels so good to just get it out of your head and get it on a sheet of paper. All right, let's move to Cornerstone 4, and that's profit. And that's where most of you want to go right out of the gate. But why do we put it last? That surprises a lot of people. It's not because profit doesn't matter, obviously. There's a guy, a book we read and talk about, and he wrote about profit being first. It matters enormously. But profit, we've found, is a great result. It should not be a great motivator, but profit's a really good result. It's a result of your P's, of purpose, people, and process all working together. And when you have those that are sort of maneuvering together, then you have the joy of profit. But when you chase profit first without the other 3 cornerstones that are in place, yeah, you might hit the number, but you'll burn out your people. You'll start to get choppy work, and you'll find yourself back at the kitchen table on Friday night wondering, where did the money go? Profit also means knowing your numbers. All right, let's go back to the operating system. So under profit, you've got to build out things like your subdivided bank accounts, dashboards, calculators, pro formas, budgets, all those things that you've heard people talk about in finance class if you ever took one. Yeah, we need those in business. They just don't need to be as complex. They can be super, super simple. The key goes back to the anchor of what we call the RPMs of great leadership: repetition, predictability, and meaning. Let's use simple tools in an RPM way. And so we've got the dashboards. We've got a 13-week rolling forecast, so you're never surprised by payroll again. This is a profit system. And so when every tool on this operating system is built out, now you're not operating just on hope. Hope's good. Hope is said to not disappoint. There's got to be work towards that hope at the same time. So these 4 P's are your 4 cornerstones: purpose, people, process, and profit. And when all 4 are set, when they're solid, when they're square, then we're ready to go and pour the slab of concrete. Hey, just a reminder, in the link in the description below, if I know some of this is pricking your brain and going, God, I got a lot of questions about this, let's hop on a meeting. Get with one of our team members, again, full-time professional team. Book a call. It's free. It's real. There's no strings attached. If you want to know how we can work with you, just ask. We'll tell you. And it'll be one of the most clarifying conversations that you can have about your construction business. Now, let's talk about how the slab goes down. The master process roadmap is the concrete foundation that sits on top of your 4 foundational cornerstones. It sits on top of those 4 P's, and it holds everything up that comes above it. And so here's what I want you to hear. This is the moment that most owners start to lean forward, because this is the part where your business becomes something you can actually see. It's hard to see the footers, right? Usually you can get covered up, but this is something you can actually point to. You can hand this to somebody else. One of our clients said it better than I ever could. He said, right now you're telling me I need a master process roadmap, but right now I am the master process roadmap. Read that again. I am the master process roadmap. It's one of the truest diagnoses of a construction business in chaos that, frankly, I've ever heard. It was sort of an exasperated statement when he said it, but the owner is not just working in the business, as you've heard it. The owner is actually the business. Every process, every decision, every handoff, all of it runs through one human being. And frankly, that human being's tired. And so the master process roadmap really does change all that. So here's what it does. It takes everything that's currently living in your head and it gives it a home on paper, organized into marketing, sales, ops, and admin, so you can see it visually laid out. So let's go around the horn. Now, the order definitely matters on this one. First is marketing. And so how do prospects find you? How do leads find you? How do you follow up? What happens between, somebody heard of us and somebody called you and somebody signed a contract? If your answer is, we don't spend a dime on marketing, or it's word of mouth or whatever, then that wall really has no process holding it up. Even the word of mouth is a process that you can begin to nurture. Marketing comes first. We always say it this way. If we started back in administration, you can't build something you haven't delivered. You can't deliver something that you haven't sold, and you can't sell something if they don't know you exist. Now, I know some of you are going, well, technically, according to accounting standards, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real life. Marketing comes first. We can't sell something if they don't know we exist. Wall number 2 is sales. How does a lead become a contract? What's your estimating process look like? We got to start looking at all of these different things, your proposal process, your follow-up process. If it changes depending on who's doing it or what day it is, that wall is leaning. It's not supported. And so sales is where we move a prospect into a client. We need a system for that. Wall number 3 is our operations system. Now, this is probably the wall that you as a contractor are going to know best. Probably documented the least, but you know it the best. The project kickoff, the scheduling, put the estimating here or in sales, the subcontractor management, the change orders, the punch lists, all of that stuff, the site inspections. Every one of these is going to be repeat over and over and over again, and most of them, again, kind of live in your head. So if you want somebody else to pull permits, guess who they're going to have to call? They're going to have to call you. Wall number 4, the administrative wall, or accounting, HR. And so payroll, HR, aging, AR, AP, collections, vendor management, all those sorts of things. The back office that not many people want to talk about, but everyone suffers when it's broken. Now, here's a move that's going to change a lot of things for you. And I'm excited to be able to bring this to you. You don't build this all at once. You start with one process, one wall, one repeating task that you currently own that someone else should be running. Here's what we call it, the systems mindset. So here's the deal. Whatever you're about to do next, if you're about to do payroll, or you're about to walk a job site cleanliness, go to a networking event, whatever it is, whatever you're about to do next, not on a Saturday morning, you don't do a half day offsite. Whatever you're about to do next, do it like it's the last time you're ever going to do it, and capture it like it's the last time you're ever going to do it. Map it, document it, and then train it. Not in a separate meeting, not on Saturday morning, not a half day offsite. Do it as you're doing it. And so that's what we call the map, document, train, or the MDT methodology. It's one process, and once it's freed from your head, out of the captive part, and put on paper, digital documentation, video, I don't care what it is, and it becomes something your team can execute without you, and they can do it again and again and again. Now, one of our clients, he's a remodeler, and he runs a few crews, and he did this for his project kickoff process. So about 3 pages long. Did take him an afternoon to actually run the process, and so he documented it while he did it. He actually preferred to just document it in writing, and so he trained his project manager on it the following Monday. Within about 30 days, he had not been on a single kickoff call. And within about 90 days, his project manager started owning the process completely. And so that one process gave him back 4 hours in a week. And he used those 4 hours to document the next process. And that flywheel started turning. Systems mindset. The next time you do a thing, I want you to capture it like it's the last time you'll ever do that thing. So go back to the slab. This is your business when the master process roadmap is built. The 4 walls, marketing, sales, ops, and admin, all standing on a solid slab supported by 4 cornerstones. And you can see it. Your team can see it. And for the first time, maybe it exists somewhere other than inside your head sitting around the kitchen table on a Friday night late when you should be present. Your business can run and grow with or without you if you build it to run and grow with or without you. Again, there's a link in the description below. If you need to hop on a call, let's do it, because I know this is generating a lot of things. A couple more things before we want to wrap up our time together. Now, this is where we put the roof on the building. And I need you to pay really close attention here, because this is where every other system dies. Some of you have been a part of coaching programs in the past, or some sort of group program or whatever. This is the gap between knowing and doing. In fact, a lot of coaching programs, they got good little tools. We call them ornaments. So you do a lot of ornament building, but there's no tree for the ornament to sit on. That's the operating system. And it's not just a casual operating system that deals a little bit with goals and a little bit with meetings and stuff like that. You've seen the full visual of that operating system and what's involved. And so you've bought books, you've listened to podcasts, you've gone to seminars, you've done all these things. And between attending those things and actually doing something different the next day, there's a gap. So you've tried things before. Maybe it was one of those things, but there's often a gap for weeks or months or never. And so you've got all these good intention, and then life hits. Job goes sideways, key employee might quit, material shortage throws the schedule off, system you built just kind of went back on the shelf. The thing you read about, the podcast you listened to, the seminar you went to, and you went back to being the system. Remember, I am the master process roadmap. So this is not a willpower problem. This is a commitment problem. Actually, it's a little bit deeper than that. This is an implementation problem. And the reason implementation fails every single time is because there was no rhythm behind it. No repetition, predictability, and meaning. Remember I said that early in the video, the RPMs of great leadership? Those 3 words are the foundation of the anchor. The anchor is based on RPMs. The R for repetition. It's not boredom. Repetition is how mastery happens. A manager told me my very first job out of grad school, a little over 20 years ago, he said this: repetition is the mother of all learning. Repetition is the mother of all learning. Hold on, don't hit pause. That was for effect. He always said it 3 times. Why? On purpose. I still hear it today into my 3rd decade later. Let's move to the predictability side. Predictability is what your team is begging for. Actually, believe it or not, they want predictability more than they want money, more than they want time off. They want those things, but they want predictability more. They want the stability. When they're saying stability, they're not talking about necessarily financial security. They're talking about the stability of being able to walk into a world where they can thrive in their work. And so predictability is knowing what Monday looks like before Monday arrives. Why? It's because Monday's going to throw curveballs. So let's try to create as much predictability as we can. It becomes the currency of trust to some degree. When your team can predict the rhythm of the week, the meeting, the training, the check-in, the review, they stop being anxious and start being effective. We actually see this in parenting and childhood. When children are given more predictable environments to grow up in, they grow up to be a little bit more healthy in what they anticipate. And so repetition, predictability, and the third is meaning. Meaning is why any of this matters. When your team understands why the process exists, not just what it is, they start to own it. They protect it. They improve it. We always talk about extreme ownership. We want them to own it. Well, part of the reason they're going to own it is if you've created repetition, predictability, and meaning. So I want to put the ball back in your court for being able to do that. The anchor is a 52-week training calendar. All right, so can you look at it like that? It's all built around your business. It's not an event. It's not a rhythm. It's not a one-time punch. We're not buying a big thing and creating a big splash. Every week has structure. Every team meeting has an agenda. Every training moment has a purpose. It's the operating cadence that makes the cornerstones and the slabs of those 4 walls stick to stand up firm so it can hold the anchor that's sitting at the top. Without the anchor, without the roof, everything inside your building gets rained on, it gets eroded over time, your people start to drift. The process, your purpose starts becoming forgotten. So you've got this vision out there. We're going, hey, we're aiming this direction, but we start to go sideways. Why? It's because we don't have a roof on the building, and you're back at the kitchen table on a Friday night. But when you've got the anchor, when you've got the roof on, your business has a complete operating system. It runs with you. It runs without you. It grows with you. It grows without you. It runs on Monday when you're there, and it runs on Tuesday when you're not. Here's what implementation actually looks like. It's not a 90-day overhaul. It's not a weekend retreat. You pick one meeting that already happens in your business. So I've got highlighted, again, this is our operating system. So every tool that must be built in a healthy business is on this visual right here. Each one of those is a tool, and each one needs to be present in your business, not in your head, all right? So let's say, to get the anchor going, you pick a team meeting. Let's say it already happens in your business. Simply give it an agenda and a line item, and you run that meeting at the same time every week, same day, 1 hour, agenda-driven, leader-led, same structure, and you train one process inside that meeting every single week. You just go to your master process roadmap and you train on it. That's the anchor. That's the RPM. And have you noticed that the RPM is simply the MPR backwards? MPR is master process roadmap. RPMs is with repetition, predictability, and meaning. That's how the roof goes on, one shingle at a time. Again, I'm going to land the plane here in just a minute, but if you're ready to have a conversation with somebody on our team because you want to talk through this and you have questions, click on the link in the description below. I want to leave you with one story. It's not a highlight reel. This is a real story. A few years ago, we were working with a contractor. He was good, super good dude. Smart, talented, built a real business, started it on his own, had a crew, had clients, had revenue. And most people looked at him and was like, man, this guy's killing it. He'd show up to church like he's killing it. Show up in town to go out to dinner. He's killing it. The reality is, if you saw him at home, you'd realize he was drowning. His wife, frankly, stopped asking when he'd be done for the day because the answer was always later. His kids, they had learned just to keep scrolling because they didn't make plans to involve dad on weeknights. This guy hadn't taken real vacation in 4 years, and the last vacation he did, he actually just took his laptop and his phone and just worked from a remote location. His wife still brings that up, by the way. And he told us something that we've never forgotten. He said, I've been told by my family that we can't have a Friday night until dad is done estimating at the kitchen table. You let that sit for a minute? It was actually his youngest daughter that said that. It was a child describing their family's week around their dad's chaos. Listen, this dude's not a bad dad. He's just a dad with no system. So we started building the 4 foundational cornerstones, 4 Ps. He wrote his purpose down, his vision, his mission, his values, wrote a handbook for the first time in 11 years of business. And then his people, he built his org chart and job roles and ideal weekly schedules, and he had a hiring process and an onboarding process. And then we started to identify the processes that were held captive in his head, and we mapped those out into the MPR, the Master Process Roadmap. And so those 4 walls were starting to be built out of marketing, sales, ops, and admin. Then the roof went on. Weekly training, predictable agenda. His team knew what Monday looked like before Monday arrived. About 6 months later, his project manager was running kickoffs without him. His office manager handling collections without him. His foreman solving job site problems without texting him first. And then one Friday, it was a typical Friday, just normal, kind of average Friday. He left the job site at 4 o'clock. And you know what he did? He went home. He went out in the backyard, and he and his family had a cookout. Just the 4 of them. No invoices, no change order disputes, no subcontractor text. It was just dinner with his family. That's what a system does. It's not just for you. And so we got to look beyond ourselves. It's actually for your life as well. We have a statement that says this: life and business necessarily intersect. So if everything's held captive in your head, not only are you keeping other people from being able to do that, but you're also keeping the people at home non-available to have access to you. Listen, if you're watching this from the kitchen table on a Friday night, I hope this hits. If you're watching it from your truck, frustrated out, wishing you were home right now, I hope this hits. If you're watching this and you're in a place of what you feel like is clarity, I hope this hits. I want you to know that there is a way that's not complicated and it's not fast, but it is clear. And it starts with a single conversation. To build out this system, remember, we work with owners between 3 and 100 employees to build their purpose, people, process, and profit, all in an operating system. So you go click on that link in the description below. Let's hop on a call. We need to have a meeting so that you can ask all the questions that you've been thinking through this entire training video. And these are questions that are going to keep coming up and up and up over and over and over again unless you deal with them. Let's have a time of reckoning. There is another way for you to be able to do this. There's a way for you to build out your purpose, people, process, and profit. There's a way to capture all of those captive processes that are currently in your head and get them on one sheet of paper. There's a way to bring it all together under the ceiling and the roof of the anchor with repetition, predictability, and meaning. We've sat across the table from a lot of men and women who looked at us in the eye and said for the first time, I think we're actually going to be okay. I think you are too. Click on the link in the description below and let's work hard to try to liberate you from chaos to make time for the things that matter most.